Hey guys, it's Elijah. I hope you're doing well um, with your stay-at-home orders and everything. I know by this time, even you guys are probably sick of Netflix and video games. I am as well. I miss you guys a lot, and I've been praying for you guys a lot over this last year. Um, Miss spending time with you guys and hanging out and seeing you. But in the meantime, when Jesse and I are waiting to get back, I have this short little devotional that I wanted to share with you. So I was reading in the Bible. I've been reading through the book of First Kings, which is a book in the Old Testament, and it's actually the book that the character Elijah is found in. And I promise I'm not doing this because his name is Elijah, but it's a really good story. And the story we're at is Elijah just had this big victory where he defeated these false prophets of um, a different God that the people of Israel were worshiping. And it's something that they keep doing in First Kings, is worshiping gods that aren't the real true God. And so Elijah defeats all their prophets in this moment of victory, and he should be excited and he should be filled with joy and happiness, but he's actually not. And so in chapter 19 of this book, I won't read the whole thing to you, it's rather long, but essentially, he runs into the wilderness because he's in danger. And he actually says to God, "It is enough now, O Lord, take my life." So he's in his darkest hour when he should be at the highest high of his life. And things should be bright and happy, but it's rather the opposite. Um, and I think a lot of times we're more like Elijah than we realize or think. And that doesn't include just now when the world's in a very uncertain place and we don't know exactly what's happening or what's going on. But I think we're more like Elijah throughout all of life than we really think we are. And so Elijah, he's at the end of his rope here. After his victory, he's in his darkest hour. And he's also upset that the people of Israel don't want to follow God. And it's something that makes him angry. And he says, "I'm jealous for the Lord, and I really want them to know you. And it's just frustrating me that they don't." And so with this experience of feeling like he wants to die because life is so hard and so difficult for him, this experience of being really frustrated that no one's listening to the Lord or listening to what Elijah has to tell them about the Lord, God responds to him in two different ways. Well, actually, he responds to him twice in each of his situations, but in the same kind of way. He provides for Elijah according to his needs. So when Elijah's in the desert, and all he wants to do is die, he lays down to sleep under a tree, fully expecting just to pass away. But an angel of the Lord comes and he brings Elijah food and sustains him physically, but also brings God's comfort to him. And then when Elijah is wanting direction and insight and peace in this situation where things aren't going how they're supposed to, the people aren't listening, God gives him direction, provides a way for him. He gives him peace when Elijah's living as a fugitive and is really angry and upset with the people of Israel. We're just like Elijah. We're dependent on God for so many things. Actually, we're dependent on God for everything. We see that time and time again in the Bible, and it's really true here. I mean, I think we might be realizing this more than ever now with everything that's going around with COVID-19, but that we're not in control of the way the world works or of our circumstances. And we're dependent on God. And we have dark hours like Elijah does. I know I have, and I'm sure that you guys have too. You're just wondering when life is going to go back to normal, when things will be easier again. And it could be things with school, your friends, not feeling well. It could be a whole host of things. We just want hard times to end, and we wonder, and we may wonder to God, Lord, why isn't it happening? And that's okay. We see that a lot through the Bible, wondering that. You read the Psalms, which we sing a psalm every week in church. We read the Psalms a lot. But David and the other people who wrote the Psalms feel like that a lot. Elijah feels like that right now. And I just want you to know that it's okay to come to God with those deep things that you're feeling, even if they're uncomfortable to us. He actually wants you to. He wants you to come before him, to seek him when things are uncertain, to ask things of him, to ask him, hey, what's going on? Or can you do this? Can you do that? And also he can handle it. He's God after all. He can handle whatever we throw at him. He's seen it all. He knows it all. He knows it anyway, even if we're going through it. And he's our provider. And I think we see that really well here with the story of Elijah in 1 Kings 19. He provides for us perfectly as well, because that's who God is. He's our provider, but he's our perfect provider. And that doesn't necessarily mean that in these moments that we have where we're wondering, we're frustrated, we're discouraged, that we'll understand exactly what God is doing, or that we know how things are going to work out. We can't always look at what's going on in our lives and say, I know God's in control, and I also know exactly what he's doing. We can say God's in control, but who can understand the ways of God? We can't. And so we're dependent on him to show us what he's doing, and to trust in what he's doing. And just like you probably wonder what's happening, I guarantee you Elijah's wondering, like, what the heck is going on here? And God answers him. He hears him, and so God hears us. He hears you, but he also answers. And again, I don't know how that'll be, but what God does here for Elijah is he gives him a plan. We see towards the end of this chapter, Elijah doesn't know what's happening, and God gives him these things to do, including going and choosing the next prophet who will take Elijah's place and anoint these people who become kings over the different areas of the land. And Elijah didn't know that necessarily. He didn't know what the guy coming after him, Elisha, would do. He didn't know what these people he was anointing as king would do. But God provided a way, and he trusted God because his way is good. So he gave him a plan, but he also gave him peace. When God talks to Elijah in the second part, when Elijah is telling the Lord just how frustrated he is with the people, and that he's jealous for the Lord, and he wants them to hear God's word and not forsake God and turn away from God like they have been for so long. There are three things that happen. The Lord comes in a really mighty wind, and then he comes in an earthquake, and then he comes in fire. And it's so loud and it's powerful, and he comes, but he doesn't speak to Elijah in those things. The fourth time he comes in, he speaks to Elijah in a whisper, a peaceful whisper, a calming, thin whisper. He doesn't match Elijah's frustration and his energy with loud, powerful exclamations of who he is, but he does it peacefully. He lays out the future, and he gives Elijah peace. He approaches him in a still, thin, a small whisper. He comes quietly. He comes peacefully. And I think right now, what we all want is we just want peace. We just want to know things are going to be okay. We just want to know what's happening, what's going on, why it's happening. And it's okay to ask God, Lord, why is this happening? And he'll show us something. He might not say, here's the answer, in case you were wondering, this is what the world's going to look like 3 months from now, 3 years from now, 30 years from now. But when we pursue the Lord, and when we come before him to tell him what's going on in our hearts and our minds, he'll answer us, and he'll give us peace. He provides for his people. He gives his people peace. And it's a really wonderful thing that in really hard times, he comforts us. And one other thing, we have to go to him and say these things. I know in my hard struggles, my first thing is to either just think about it, talk to myself, or keep it inside, or even talk to other people. And during this time especially, I've been really convicted that I've been talking to other people, or not talking about things at all, instead of talking to God about them. And reading this, I was convicted by that. It's an encouraging wake-up call that not only is God our good provider, but that he wants us to bring our tough things before him because he loves us. And he will provide for his people. He promises that, and the Bible's full of that. And he still does that for his people, for you and I. So I want to encourage you that that's who God is, our good, perfect provider. I also want to encourage you that he's the God who hears, the God who listens, and the God who answers. And a lot of times he'll answer in a still, small, thin whisper, so we have to be listening and we have to be talking to him. So take some time during your guys' day to seek the Lord, to be quiet, to pray, to read the Bible, to to focus some time on that. It's a really good thing. It will really help you grow, and it will really help you know more who God is. And that's a really wonderful thing when we get to know more about God. Like I said, I miss you guys a lot. I can't wait to see you again. It'll be soon. We'll hang out. We'll make pancakes. We'll do something. You can count on that. I'm praying for you guys still. And I want you to know that the Lord's in control. He's our good provider, and he's always listening and answering our prayers and our cries to him. So thanks, guys. I hope you have a great rest of your day. See ya.